can feel healthy even while plaque builds up in your arteries, affecting blood flow.
That's why managing risks is so important for heart health.
You can run 10 kilometers, train at the gym regularly, have blood tests that look perfect on paper, and still be carrying a widowmaker in your chest, a blockage that can kill you on an otherwise perfect morning. This is the hardest truth about biology to accept. Your body does not care how healthy you look. It only cares whether blood is still flowing. And what's frightening is that, most of the time, it is so good at hiding the truth that you have no idea you're in danger. The heart is not like a car engine with a blinking warning light. It is a muscle with an extreme demand for oxygen. Kept alive by delicate vessels wrapped around it, the coronary arteries. If a small branch is blocked, you lose a small piece of function. But if the main vessel at the front of the heart, the one doctors coldly call the widowmaker, is cut off, the entire system collapses within minutes. What makes people complacent is how atherosclerosis actually forms. Plaque does not grow inward like grime clogging a pipe. Biology is smarter than that. As plaque accumulates, the artery wall expands outward to keep the channel open. Blood keeps flowing. Oxygen keeps reaching the heart. You keep running, climbing stairs, feeling fine. This is called positive remodeling, and it is what kills people. Over years, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, smoking, chronic inflammation, even mechanical stress from long-term high-intensity training create microscopic injuries in the vessel wall. The body patches them with LDL cholesterol. The immune system moves in. Cells consume the cholesterol, die, and leave behind a mixture that slowly hardens into plaque. But the most dangerous plaque is not the biggest or hardest. The real danger is soft, inflamed plaque, like a blister covered by a thin layer of skin. You can't feel it. No pain, no tightness, no warning. Until one day, blood pressure spikes, the heart rate surges, or you push your body past its limit. That thin skin tears, the plaque ruptures, and the body does exactly what it was designed to do. It forms a blood clot as fast as possible. In your hand, that reaction saves your life when you cut yourself. Inside your heart, it is a death sentence. Within minutes, the clot completely seals the artery. Blood flow stops abruptly. Heart cells begin to die, one by one. This is a type 1 myocardial infarction, the most silent killer of all. But there is another scenario, common in people who are very disciplined. There is no total blockage, maybe only 50%. At rest, it's irrelevant. But when your heart is forced to beat at 170 beats per minute, it needs a fire hose of blood. The artery can only deliver a garden hose. Demand exceeds supply, and the heart begins to suffocate from the inside. There is no crushing chest pain, just dizziness, strange fatigue, nausea, a sudden drop in energy. Many people think they're dehydrated. In reality, the heart muscle is slowly dying. The shocking truth is this: you usually don't feel chest pain until an artery is about 70% blocked. And most heart attacks happen before that point, which means you cannot feel danger coming. The body has one last backup system: collateral circulation. If a blockage develops slowly, the heart builds small detour vessels to route blood around the damage. That's why older people sometimes survive heart attacks that kill younger ones. Younger hearts haven't had time to build those detours. When the main road shuts down, there is no way around it. In emergency medicine, there's a brutal phrase: time is muscle. After 20 minutes, irreversible damage begins. After 90 minutes, heart muscle turns into scar tissue. Scar tissue doesn't pump. It doesn't recover. The real problem is that most people are measuring the wrong things. Blood tests only tell you what's floating in your bloodstream. They don't tell you what's already stuck to your artery walls. To see the ticking bomb, you have to look directly at the vessels. A coronary calcium score shows hardened plaque. A CT coronary angiogram reveals soft plaque, the most dangerous kind, and the one invisible to routine checkups. The final message is simple, but uncomfortable. Don't assume you're healthy just because you feel fine. Biology does not respond to feelings. It responds to structure and flow. The technology exists. The data exists. The difference between survival and tragedy is often nothing more than whether you knew. If this made you pause for even 1 second and think about your own heart, hold on to that moment. That's not fear. That's awareness. And in cardiology, awareness is what buys you time. There is a question many people avoid. If the body is this good at hiding heart disease, what are you supposed to do to avoid becoming the next victim? The answer is not training harder, eating cleaner, or trying to live like an athlete. It lies in reading the right signals and managing risk proactively, instead of relying on hope. First, it's critical to understand one thing. Not every heart attack comes from a completely blocked artery. Some people never exceed a 50% narrowing and still suffer a myocardial infarction because the heart is pushed too hard at the wrong moment. This explains why many healthy people collapse while running, playing sports, or after an intense emotional stress. The heart doesn't fail because it's weak. It fails because of a mismatch between oxygen supply and demand. That's why the first strategy is not trying to push your limits, but reducing the invisible stress placed on the heart. High blood pressure is not just a number on a cuff. It is a constant tearing force on the vessel walls, creating microscopic injuries day after day. Controlling blood pressure means reducing plaque formation at its source. High blood sugar is not just about diabetes. It fuels inflammation and makes plaques softer and more prone to rupture. Sleep deprivation, chronic stress, irregular daily rhythms, all of these push the heart into a constant defensive state. Second, it has to be said clearly. Normal blood tests do not equal safety. Beautiful cholesterol numbers, low triglycerides, normal CRP, all of that is good. But none of it tells you what your arteries actually look like. If you have a family history of heart disease, a history of smoking, hypertension, or you're entering middle age, evaluating arterial structure is scientifically reasonable. A coronary calcium scan detects hardened plaque that has accumulated over time. A CT coronary angiogram can reveal soft plaque that hasn't caused narrowing yet, but is the most dangerous because it's prone to rupture. This is not about creating panic. It's about knowing where you stand. Third, movement still matters, but it has to be done correctly. Exercise is not about proving how fit you are. It's about building a backup system for your heart. Long-term, moderate-intensity activity helps the heart grow collateral vessels, life-saving detours when trouble hits. Short, controlled bursts of higher intensity teach the heart how to respond to stress more efficiently. The issue is not whether you exercise, but whether you train in a body that is fueled, rested, and recovered, rather than sleep-deprived, underfed, and chronically stressed. Finally, don't forget the human factor, early symptom recognition. A heart attack doesn't always announce itself with crushing chest pain. Sometimes it shows up as unexplained fatigue, shortness of breath, nausea, dizziness, or a vague sense that something is wrong. In women especially, symptoms are often subtle and easily dismissed. In cardiology, hesitation is the enemy. When in doubt, acting early is always safer than waiting. The most important message is not be afraid of heart disease. It is this: don't let false reassurance fool you. Biology does not reward complacency. It only responds to what you do consistently, over time. Once you understand how disease develops, you stop guessing. You start managing risk like someone who understands the game, not someone relying on luck. And if there is only one thing to take away from this video, it's this: feeling healthy is not proof of safety. Accurate knowledge, accurate data, and timely action are what truly protect your heart. When it comes to heart disease, the most frightening thing isn't the pain, and it isn't the chaotic moment in an emergency room. The most frightening thing is the long silence before it. The years when you live by the rules, eat reasonably well, exercise consistently, have no obvious symptoms, and therefore believe you are safe. Biology does not operate on belief. It operates on structure, pressure, inflammation, and time. Everything discussed today is not meant to make you panic or distrust your body. Quite the opposite. It is a reminder that your body is remarkably intelligent, so intelligent that it can hide serious problems until the very last moment. Arteries can expand to preserve blood flow. The heart can compensate and keep pumping. You can adapt to a system that is quietly deteriorating, and that very adaptability creates the feeling that everything is fine. But feeling fine is not the same as being biologically safe. The core takeaway is this: most heart attacks do not come from a slow blockage that you can feel developing. They come from plaques that cause no pain, no shortness of breath, no warning, and then suddenly rupture. That moment gives you no chance to correct course. It gives you minutes. And in cardiology, minutes are the line between recovery and disability, between continuing life and being left with permanent scar tissue. That's why the smartest approach is not trying to become the healthiest person in the room, but becoming the person who understands their own risk best. Understanding that high blood pressure is not just a number, but a constant tearing force on artery walls. Understanding that high blood sugar doesn't just affect weight, but makes plaques more fragile and more likely to rupture. Understanding that training in exhaustion, sleep deprivation, and chronic stress is not discipline. It is putting your heart through a dangerous test. There is one more truth to accept. You cannot feel your arteries. No instinct is sharp enough to detect soft plaque waiting to rupture. That is why objective data matters. Not to live in fear, but to make clear-headed decisions. To know when lifestyle adjustments are enough. To know when deeper evaluation is warranted. To know whether you are in a low-risk zone or an area that deserves attention. Knowledge does not make you weaker, it makes you proactive. If there is one image to hold on to, think of the heart as a city. For years, traffic still flows even while underground structures quietly deteriorate. You don't see gridlock. You assume everything is fine. Then one main pillar collapses, and the entire system shuts down in an instant. Your job is not to wait for that day, but to look at the foundation while the city is still functioning. In the end, the most important message is not, be afraid of heart disease, but don't let silence deceive you. Caring for your heart is not a short-term campaign, and it is not an extreme effort. It is a series of consistent choices, grounded in accurate understanding, repeated long enough that biology no longer has a reason to stay in defensive mode. If this video makes you pause for a few seconds and think about your own heart, then it has done its job. Not to make you anxious, but to make you a little more aware. And in cardiology, early awareness is one of the greatest advantages you can have.